Hi everyone, welcome to Activating Genius, how to get your child into a top college and set for a happy, successful life. Today we have the good fortune of interviewing Alan Katzman, a recognized authority on the importance of proactively teaching students the effective and productive use of social media at all educational levels. Alan founded Social Assurity in 2013 to help students harness social media as a communications tool to curate digital portraits that reflect their true character and potential. Social Assurity offers a suite of interactive e-courses that teaches students how to use social media to effectively engage with colleges, communities, and businesses, while also building a rich and discoverable digital presence that accurately reflects their character, skills, interests, service, and accomplishments. Welcome, Alan.
Thank you, Sonia. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about the work you do, because this is something I haven't heard of before. It's a brand new field.
Well, we take a very forward-thinking view of social media. 5 years ago when we started, social media was just coming to the forefront as having an impact on college admissions, scholarship decisions, internships, grad school admissions, and employment. And there was a lot of fear-based in this realization that activities that students can take as a teenager could come back and cost them opportunities. So the general advice out there from what I was able to glean was basically take it out of the equation, right? Hide, shut it down, put up an alias. Don't let anybody see what you're doing, and so you'll be judged on the merits, right, in air quotes. And that advice just troubled me so much because colleges and scholarship committees and employers and fill in the blank, they're not going to look at social media with the aim of finding something to disqualify a candidate. And I did a lot of interviews, and what was apparent to me and to them is that, no, we're looking because we are hungry to learn more about this candidate, right? There's only so much differentiation. When you're talking about tens of thousands of students applying, let's just keep it for college, right? Tens of thousands of students applying for a couple of thousand seats, and all you're looking at is GPA, strength of schedule, test scores, and a 500-word essay, right? It's very, very difficult to make objective determinations, right, on that sample. And they were looking to learn more, and it became apparent to me that hiding or just having a student say, I know social media can be seen by everyone, so I've never posted anything stupid. There's this false equivalency among students that I have nothing to hide, and therefore I'm safe. And we challenge them. We say, no, but nothing to hide is not equivalent to having something to show. And so what we've done is actually realize that students, although from an adult standpoint, Sonia, it may look like they're digital natives, they know what they're doing. When we actually started talking to students, they really don't understand how the world of social media operates. So we teach them these basics, and we teach them, here's how it works, here's how colleges and employers are using social media, and it's much more complicated than most people would assume, and why it is important to create content, not to impress their friends, which they're very good at, but to tell to tell the story that they would want someone who's never met them, right? To tell the story of what they would want that person to know about them, because people could be making important decisions about them, whether it's for college or career or somewhere in between. So we've taken this very positive, proactive view of social media. We see it as a tool and a skill, and like any important tool or skill, it needs to be taught, right? People have to learn how to use it, how to approach it, and basically rewire, especially when it comes to college-bound teens, rewire their brains from it being something to fear and therefore hide, right? Versus a tool to utilize to complement or supplement your application to a school.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think you have a unique perspective, because that's what I've heard from students in the past and from some of my other colleagues as well, is that, colleges will go onto social media and find things, and if they don't like something, they'll disqualify the student. So it's definitely a different approach. I am curious. It seems like it's blurring the lines, between what one would call professional and personal life, and so I think that's where it gets confusing for people.
Well, that's a great point, and if I could respond to that, and we can move on. When I speak, and I speak to thousands upon thousands of high school students a year, we were invited to speak to parents and to students, and I will hear this at every single assembly that I lead, and some student will raise their hand and say, "This is an invasion of my privacy."
Right.
and this goes back to what I said before, that we have to teach them how this operates. There is no privacy, right? When you post something, you're publishing it, and it is out there, and it is fair game. And you want to know what? This is nothing new, right? Personal and professional. And I try to explain this to parents and students. Let's just go back to the traditional, let's call it, job interview, right? You send your resume and a cover letter. Somebody reads it and makes a decision. This person is qualified for the job, right? Based upon their experience or their education, etc. But then the next step is always an interview. And the interview was never to determine, is this person qualified for the job, because that decision was already made. But the interview is personal. Is this somebody we want to bring into our firm? Is this somebody who's going to get along well with others? Is this person responsible? Will this person be a team player? All these kind of subjective personal decisions are made at the interview stage. So even in the realm of college admissions, there's so much talk about the importance of character, right? A lot of the more selective schools, let's say the top 75 schools, if you look at their websites, and this is not the large, and I really have to just put in one disclaimer here. There is not one rule that applies to every college when it comes to social media. And to think that there's this blanket rule would be misguided. But the schools that are typically smaller, the private liberal arts schools, the schools that are more selective, perhaps the schools that, if you look at their website, that they take a holistic approach towards assessing the student, right? They're going to take character into account. And when I talk about character, right, is are you a good citizen? This is when you start hearing about genuine volunteer or service. Are you a leader? Do you get along well with others? And you can glean a lot of information about a person from their social media. And unfortunately, I think most teams today on social media will amplify a very small sliver of their life, and that is their social life. So if you look at the social media of most students today, it's 100% about their social life. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think social media is a great platform for engagement with peers and colleagues and friends and having a fun time. But there is this other role, and it's coming into play, as I said, at the college level, and even more so at the career level. And having in these days, having a discoverable presence, and when I say discoverable, you're not hiding, you're making it easier for people to find you, and you're talking about things that would be of interest to that viewer versus your friend. And this is the most important point that we try to get across. We want students to understand what are their strengths, what are they most proud of, right? What do they enjoy doing more than anything? And we encourage them to create content that can kind of connect the dots to someone. And it can change by students. Some students like to write. So we have students who express themselves in the written word. They can create blogs. We have students who build amazing LinkedIn profiles that show some of their work and their insights and thoughts. Other students are more visual in nature and creative. And for these students, if they have a passion for photography or fashion design or architecture, they can use a platform like Instagram to create a portfolio of their work, right? Or we had one student who wanted to study architecture. And what he ended up doing was creating an Instagram portfolio of really, he chose photographs of human-made structures that most impressed him, with a little blurb on Instagram why this structure was worthy of his respect. And what we do as part of our course is to give the students comfort even to embed the link somewhere in their college application, right? If you want to learn more about my interest in architecture, please check out my Instagram portfolio and then put in the link. So you're being transparent. You're inviting them in. You've got nothing to hide, and yet, they're going to be seeing a part of you. And as I said before, either this can be used to supplement, right, an application, or to complement an application, because there's a lot of information that students want colleges to see that are beyond the scope of, say, the Common App. This gives them the opportunity to put this information in front of an admissions officer or an admissions team. And it's quite powerful.
Yeah, it definitely sounds powerful. I've had some students do that on the resume that they submit to colleges.
Right.
I've had some students put in links to some, either Instagram pages or LinkedIn or something to the resumes that they submit to colleges.
Yes.
But it's interesting because you are taking a very proactive approach, and I wonder, what have you heard from the college admissions side? I mean, do they actually go to these sites if the student recommends, here's my site? Do they actually take the time to visit? Because they have such little time, it seems, reviewing the applications.
Well, what we're big proponents of LinkedIn for high school students, and I know when most people hear the word LinkedIn, they think older people looking for jobs, but LinkedIn is a very powerful platform, and there's two things here. Well, I'm gonna go the second one first. We like LinkedIn not only because it's a very powerful platform to get one's story out there, but LinkedIn does give the student feedback, right? When somebody looks at their profile, it's the only social media site that will give that feedback. And my favorite story, and it was actually one that was written about us in the New York Times a couple of years ago. We were working with a student, and he applied early action to Harvard. He's now a junior, so we're going back a couple of years. And Harvard, in its supplement every year, will ask, is there anything about you that you would like us to know that you haven't already told us? Something to that extent. Well, his answer to that question on his application is, I think I've told you everything you need to know, but if you want to learn more about me and my interests in, and for this student it was music, right? He was a musician. Please check out my LinkedIn profile, and he put in his personal URL.
Okay.
A few weeks after he submitted his application, we got a phone call from him. You're never going to guess what happened. I just got a notification on LinkedIn that someone from Harvard College looked at my profile. And so what we're seeing, and because we advocate LinkedIn, and I think for most students, it really can be a powerful platform to get one's story out there. We're seeing I would say between 40 and 50% of students who offer the link to a college, those links are getting clicked. Now, which is a huge advantage. It's a huge advantage. And if you look at the numbers, and Kaplan does a survey every year. Last year, an organization called the AACRAO, which is the Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers, did a very thorough survey of social media's role in the college admissions process. And we're seeing numbers that about 70% of accredited four-year schools consider social media to be fair game. That's not saying that they're going to look at the social media of every student. But by saying it's fair game, they'll be willing to look at it. And it's funny that they use it, and this is going to be interesting, I think, for the people listening to this, is that they're using it for three very distinct purposes.
Okay.
On the forefront, they're using social media as a marketing tool, right? Teens are on social media, right? So if you want a student to learn about your school, right, because you may want to get the application in, you have to speak to them on Snapchat and on Instagram. That's where they are. So schools may buy email lists from the College Board, and then there's very simple technology that can connect an email address to social media sites, and so they'll start hitting those kids with information about the school. It's proactive, but it's trying to get them to know that this school exists. It might be a school that would be of interest to a student. Then you've got it, as we said, on the admission decision stage, right? You've got schools that may be test optional, that are looking for more information about a student, and they might look at a LinkedIn, especially if invited. They may look at your Instagram. They might Google you. But this is to learn, what kind of student are we dealing with here? Who is this person? Okay? Then there's a third. And this is really important because this is overlooked. A lot of schools, and we're not now these schools I'm talking about are not the top 50. It's not the Ivy League schools, the Dukes, the fill in the blank. But these are maybe that next tier down. A lot of schools are, and you've heard the term demonstrated interest, but that term has evolved a bit, right? Demonstrated interest, why it's important is because some schools are waiting for lack of a better term, an assessment of a student's likelihood to enroll if accepted.
Right.
And for everybody listening, right, this makes sense because schools essentially they want to accept as few students as they have to fill their class. Right? Because the lower number of acceptances, the more selective they become, right? And typically then they get ranked higher in a lot of the college rankings. So you can lower your acceptance rate in three ways. You can generate more applications, so you have more to reject. And that's covered by what I said before, right? They're targeting students to generate applications. You can remove seats in your class. Instead of filling 1,000 seats, I'm only going to fill 800. Well, nobody's going to do that because that takes away revenue, right?
Right.
And the third way is you can use data points and analytics to help make admissions decisions because I may not, even though this student that I'm looking at has great credentials, if we don't believe that student, if that student has less than a 10% chance of enrolling here, why would they accept that student?
Right.
So where social media comes in, and we teach students how to do this, is they're monitoring our students following them on social media. I mean, most people think demonstrated interest is going for a college visit and registering, which it still is, or maybe sending an email with a question to the admissions office. But it's gotten to the point where schools and CRMs that focus in on college admissions, are like Slate, have this element. Where is this student following us on LinkedIn? Is this student following us on Instagram? Has this student left comments? Now, again, as I said before, a disclaimer, what I'm saying here doesn't apply to each and every school, right? Yeah. But we're very good at figuring out where the greatest leverage is, and which schools are more likely than not to take this into account. But this is a growing element. It's enabling colleges to make more informed decisions about their applicants. And for us, not only are we helping high school students understand the digital world which they are growing up in, and look around us, there's no sign of this going away anytime soon. But we're also going to be, I tell parents, from when your child moves from high school to college to grad school, finding an internship, or college and grad school to employment, the odds of someone looking at your child's social media to make it an important decision about their future at some point during that journey, it's got to be close to 100%. And the sooner that we can educate the students to understand this world and how to be successful within it, the better off they are, because they're going to have a subtle advantage over their peers.
Right. Yeah, it's a whole new level of complexity that's being introduced if they're tracking demonstrated interest in this way, and also just a lot more work for the student, in terms of creating profiles, and it's quite a big.
It's really, it's really not though. We hear that all the time, and if you look at the numbers, and I'm speaking to the parents here, our teenagers, our college age students and teenagers, are spending an enormous amount of their time daily on a screen, and the idea here is, we don't want them consumed by this, but what we see, this is probably, to get everything up and ready, and to one of the things that we do is we want to separate their truly personal social media, because we want them to have fun. We want them to have fun, right? They're kids, but they have to know that they're never anonymous. It never disappears. And therefore, anyone in the world with an interest in finding everything they've posted can. And Sonia, we see this in the news every single day, right? Without getting into the details, somebody says or does something, and then there are people who go back years and find every single post they've ever made, right, to embarrass them. And one of the things that your students will tell you, and this is to the parents as well, is, Mom and Dad, I know I haven't posted anything stupid, and I'll tell you, I believe that. From what I've seen, most teens today, they've heard it, they know it, but there's a good percentage of them that think they're hidden, right? In other words, I haven't posted anything stupid on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, but I have this alias and this alter ego on some of these other sites, and you don't have to know about that, because no one can ever find me. And that's wrong, right? So, but what we want to do, we want to teach them, and go have fun, but understand how this works. But now that you're a junior, a sophomore, you can create new accounts, right? Because here's the great line. Parents, I've told my kid for years to post positive things in their social media. My son just won an award at an Eagle Scout, for his Eagle Scout, and I told him, post this onto social media, and he won't listen to me.
Right.
Well, the reason why, there could be a million reasons why, but I think the most likely one is because the audience for that boy's social media are his friends.
Right.
And it would be very uncool for a 16 or 17-year-old, right, to post an Eagle Scout award for his friends to see. But that's not the persona they want to develop with their friends. But if you give them a platform that this is for content, not for your friends, but for a scholarship committee, an admissions committee, then then they're liberated, right? And then they'll do it. So we do teach students as part of this, as part of our program. We teach them. You hear the word, Sonia, digital portfolios, right? Students should have a digital portfolio. If you just tell a student, you should build a digital portfolio, they don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
So we actually go step by step. Here's how you create a reflective digital portfolio. Here's some of the platforms that you can do this in. And we encourage them. We teach them how to adjust their settings so people can identify them to this platform. How to select a good email address, and just again create content that if people want to find, they will find this content easily and associate it to this student. And if you have this new content, that's going to satiate their appetite. Like you said before, they don't have a lot of time. And this whole idea that an admissions officer is going to Google students, I don't buy that at all. I don't think they're sitting there Googling students. To your point, they don't have time for it. But if you offer it to them, it's going to come into play. It is absolutely going to come into play.
Yeah. Well, one question I had for you, you talked about social media being for their friends. I think Facebook is an example of that. I've heard that teenagers are using Facebook less so, and it's more adults now. But even so, if there is, a Facebook account that students have and they've marked it private or something, is that okay? Can then they just post whatever they want? Like you said, keeping the friend circle separate from...
No, it's Facebook is, yes, a lot of students do not have Facebook pages anymore. It is, they're all on Instagram, they're all on Snapchat. And when I say all, we're talking about over 90% of teens today. I mean, it's an incredible number. But Facebook, if you open up your Facebook account, like at 13 or 14, and you put in your right birth date, it's going to default to private. All right, and even once you're 18, you have to go in and manually manually reset your privacy settings to make it public. But the Facebook privacy settings, the default, still will show every profile picture you've ever posted. I still will be able to see all of your friends. I will be able to see everything you've liked and all the groups you belong to. Wow. So, what we teach, we focus in on Facebook, and we teach them how to leverage the settings. And this would take someone maybe a half hour to adjust. But the beauty of it, Facebook is a giant compared to all the other social media platforms. And since the people in the admissions office are probably in a demographic that they're clearly on Facebook, it doesn't take much time. And with about a half-hour investment, a student, if somebody comes upon a student's Facebook page,
Yeah.
that student can dictate what someone who is not a friend of theirs will see
Okay.
versus what their friends will see.
Okay.
But again, you can curate, you can create the message or create the content that you would want somebody to see about you. And it doesn't take much time at all. And going back to your other questions, setting up a LinkedIn profile, probably takes, you can take our, watch our videos, take our course. We really challenge them how to think this through. We're big proponents of the Turning the Tide report, right, which advocates service and citizenship. And we're also big believers in the importance of showing your soft skills, right? And when I say soft skills, personal attributes, are you a leader? Teamwork, resilience, grit, commitment, right? These are things that colleges really like, these stories. And so the LinkedIn profiles that our students create really help tell that story, for a reader or an observer to take a look at. But it takes only a few hours. And then, but once it's done, it's there. And we encourage students, though, because we do teach them, I think, and many people share this thought, there is some really amazing college-based resources on LinkedIn. Every college has a LinkedIn page. And again, not to just harp on LinkedIn, but I think it's so important. For the 500 million people who have LinkedIn profiles, if you think about it, LinkedIn knows where we went to college because we told them, what we majored in, and where we're working and what we're doing. So what LinkedIn does, it aggregates all this data. So you can look at a college, and if you click alumni, you'll see all this. So you'll see, the aggregation of majors and where they're working. And you could actually see, hey, you know what? This school that I never heard of must have a really good graphics design department because look where these people are working. And you can then we teach students how to connect with alumni, find a mentor, and really utilize social media as a networking tool beyond just their peer group. And this is very intimidating for a 16-year-old. But we give them small steps to take that are high probability of positive feedback. And we're students just wow, because they realize how the access they can have. And it's pretty remarkable once that light bulb goes off that they can use social media to engage with college communities, influencers, industry groups, businesses in the same way as they're doing with their friends.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Really interesting. I like what you're saying about connecting with alumni and mentors and learning about a school. That's quite amazing. In fact, that's one of the most powerful things when you attend a college is you get connected to all the students, your fellow students, as well as the alumni network. And they can help you find jobs and all kinds of things. So that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. So we want to start. Yeah, we want to introduce this element to them as early as possible. Because once they get into their school, these same skills, right? They just bring it to the next level, and they're there, and it's pretty. I should show you some of the examples, but it's pretty powerful and persuasive stuff when done properly.
Yeah, sounds like it. That's great. Ellen, I understand you have a free gift for our listeners today.
Yes, we do. As a thank you for listening to this conversation, we at Social Assurity have produced a 30-minute to 40-minute e-course for parents. And what this is designed to do is to help the parent understand the concepts of what I just spoke about, teach them about some of the social media sites their kids could be on, right?
Okay.
What to look for, and really just an overview of how they can help talk the language to their kids in ways that their kids will realize, hey, mom and dad know what they're talking about. Because we feel that we know, because we do a lot of work with parents, is parents want to be empowered to understand what's going on, and then when they're empowered and they have the knowledge, then they can have that discussion with their child, and not a fear-based discussion, but an informed discussion, and then help them build this kind of presence that we've been talking about for the past few minutes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's an excellent gift. Thank you for offering that to everyone. That's really nice.
And you'll be providing your listeners the link so they can take advantage of that. Okay.
Yes, I will send that to them, definitely. Excellent. Thank you so much, Alan. It's been really wonderful having you. You've definitely shed a new light on social media. I have to say, in this telesummit, I did a telesummit a couple years ago, but in this particular series of interviews this year, the idea of addiction to social media and technology has come up in many interviews. So it's even a different world than 2 years ago. But I like your approach because it's very proactive and positive. And so I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I look forward to hearing back from your audience. If they have any questions, they can reach out to me. Email if they want. I'm Alan, ALAN, @socialassurity.com. And we're always here to answer questions that may come up in the course of taking the course or thinking about what we just discussed here.
Excellent. Thank you, Alan. Thank you.
Thank you.